Pleasure to be here, everyone. And it's an interesting venue, and I think it's going to work. Essentially, what I'm going to do is probably talk for about 5 minutes, and hopefully we're going to open the floor to some questions, and I'll be happy to try and answer them. Marty tried to talk me into, talking about the impact estimator, and I thought it'd be much better if we talked about whole building LCA and how we can actually achieve those credits in LEED 4. What I really want to do is give you a bit of an overview as to how those credits are being handled at this juncture, and then take your questions, and hopefully we can have a great discussion from there. Are you guys getting feedback from this? No? Okay. When I started to think about this, I said, well, I've got 5 minutes. There's probably about 5 things I can really cover. And what I really want to do is give you, like I said, that overview of where LEED version 4 is going. As you know, it's all brand new. There is a technical guide or a reference guide for it. I don't know if you were in the sessions this morning at 8 o'clock or you're up a little late last night and missed it, but there are some holes in that reference guide. And part of what we do at the Athena Institute is try and fill those holes and provide you with the information you need to make sure you can go up and get those credits relatively easily. So it's brand new, it's worth 3 points, and I know we've all been talking about EPDs and HPDs, and when you actually look at the points available, the whole building LCA credit is actually is a significant one, and one you should really think about going after. The other thing about it is that it's LCA based, and that is, for me, a paradigm shift for going from LEED 2009 to LEED version 4. We've gotten away from those prescriptive measures, and now we're using performance measures based on real metrics. And here I'm talking about global warming potential. You might know it better as climate change. There's other things like acidification potential, eutrophication, smog, ozone depletion, and the one you're probably most familiar with when it comes to materials is embodied energy, or what we call total primary energy. So those are the 6 metrics that are covered in the LEED version 4 whole building LCA credit. How many people have actually read the credit? Quick show of hands? Not too many. One of the reasons that might be the case is that it's relatively hard to find. So it's materials credit number 1, option 4. After all the information about historic buildings and preservation and reuse, you finally find this credit on whole building LCA that's actually applicable to new construction. One of the things that it does is it makes you focus on a building's structure and envelope over the 60-year life of a building. And that's defaulted by LEED 60 years. And when we do that, we actually have to compare your as-built design to a reference design. And that can be a little tricky. We have a whole guide that we've put together. It's available on our website. Athena Guide, the whole building LCA for green rating systems. LEED's in there, Green Globes, a few other competitors, etc. Pick that up, because coming up with that reference design is an important aspect of completing your LCA and getting your points. The other thing about it is that it's not cradle to gate like you're seeing with a lot of EPDs, it's cradle to grave. And so you have to follow all of your materials from the point of extraction to the manufacturing of those products, delivering them on site, the construction effects of putting those assemblies together, whether or not the use phase, you might have some periodic maintenance or replacement over that 60-year period. And then you will have, undoubtedly, an end-of-life disposition situation where you'll be recycling, reusing those products, or unfortunately sending them to the landfill. But that's a reality. All of that is a lot to do. It can seem to be a little daunting, but there's actually tools available. We actually have one, the impact estimator for buildings. It's free. And along with this guide and that piece of software, you, as architects or engineers, i.e. not LCA experts, should be able to achieve and complete this particular credit. And that's really what we're all about, is providing you with these tools and with a little bit of guidance to achieve 3, 4, 5 points. The 3 points is basic. There's also an exemplary performance credit, what you'd call an innovation credit, if you will. So when you are comparing your building to the reference building, what you're trying to do is have a 10% reduction in at least 3 of those 6 metrics that I described earlier. One of which, of course, has to be global warming potential, because we all like to focus on that one. But if your building actually outperforms the reference building in all 6, presumably by 10%, you'll actually get an extra point. So there's possible 4 points. And from a material perspective in LEED, that's a heck of a lot of points. Now, if you happen to be from Canada, you actually can get another point because there's also a regional priority for various cities, and that can also get up to about 5 points. Anyway, to be short and hopefully get on the discussion going, what I'd really like you to do is download our software. We've got lots of videos, tutorials, user guides on how to use the software. Get the reference guide or our guide to the reference building. There's a lot of interpretation material in there as well. And I think between the two, you should be well set to actually start moving down the road and complete your whole building LCA. So with that, I'm going to shut up and take some questions if there are any. Yeah, okay. So for the reference building, relative to your as-built building, there are 3 criteria. Obviously, if you're building an office building, your reference building should probably be an office building as well, right? But essentially, the reference building has to be the same square footage. It has to have the same functional or utility space, and it has to be in the same cardinal direction. Okay? But beyond that, they also have to, both the reference building and your as-built building have to have the same thermal performance. Okay? So typically in a LEED building, we want to put in more insulation, what have you. Your reference building actually has to have that same level of insulation and attain the same R value, if you will. Now, the way to reduce the impact of your building might be to look at various types of installations to do that. So switch out one for the other and see what the impact is. And those are all things you can do in the tool relatively easily. Just pick one installation, throw it out, put a new one in. Did I answer your question? The use phase, is it incorporated in the cradle-to-grave analysis? It is. So for instance, if you're looking at a house, you may be switching out the cladding after 40 years and putting on a new cladding. And what we presume, or what that model presumes, is that you're going to, if you put vinyl siding on the first time, you're going to put vinyl siding on it again. There's no switching in mid-form. But yes, there's a service life aspect to all of those envelope materials, and that's all already defaulted into the software. So again, you can play with those as well. Okay, the question is how many regions are covered in the tool? I believe we have 20 notional city locations at this juncture. And yes, you should probably be using the location where your building is being built. So we've got everything from Orlando, New York, Seattle, LA, and a few places in between. Across Canada, we pretty well have a city in every province. What that does is it actually turns on what electricity grid you might be drawing from when we're either manufacturing or building the building. It also has an effect on the transportation mode and distance for various materials. In some respects, we also model different technologies. It might be, so there, cement manufacturing in BC versus Ontario, they might have a different kiln technology on average being used there as opposed to what's available in Ontario. Those types of things are taken into consideration. So yes, it's important to select the region you're in and be consistent with your reference building and your as-built building. Okay. So they both are in the same region. We are, and slowly. Fortunately, we've been able to work with GAF, and after they completed their EPD on TPO roofing, which was actually one of a sizable gap in our software, because I think we have EPDM, PVC, TPO, ModBit, and a few others. TPO was missing, and working with Marty and Tony, we were able to work with Tom as well and incorporate GAF's TPO membrane into our software based on an LCA and an EPD that they produced. So we're going to be doing more of that. So right now, the majority of the data in our tool is generic or industry average data, and we're going to be adding more branded products. So if you want to use Roxol's mineral wool or Owens Corning fiberglass, it will eventually be there. But right now we have mineral wool and we have fiberglass.